sharks. Thousands are killed each year, many just for sport. Fortunately, there are those who shoot them not with a gun, but with a camera. This is the select group of divers who are making significant contributions to underwater cinematography. They forsake family, home, and dry land on a quest which takes them from the Pacific Ocean seeking angel and blue sharks, to the Atlantic for tigers and makos, to the Sea of Cortez in search of hammerheads, to coastal Australia for the great white shark. Their weapons are used only for protection and self-defense. Their trophies are not dead sharks, but something far more evocative and compelling. A panorama of shark behavior recorded indelibly on film. The father and son film team of Jack and John McKenney pursue the sharks relentlessly. They reward us all with an increased understanding of the shark's behavior and its starring role in the complex pageant of life undersea. They swim gracefully through the clear blue water, as if waltzing in their undersea home. We watch, thrilled by their sensual movements. Sharks. Through eons of conditioning, the word resounds in our consciousness, inspiring fear and dread. Mass media brings up the rear of the age-old procession, portraying sharks as evil, vicious killers. Are sharks horrifying monsters of the deep lying in wait for us each time we enter the water? Or are they complex creatures whose popular identities are cloaked with the burden of ancient myths? Perhaps they are neither. Perhaps the answer lies somewhere between beast and angel, chaos and civility. The father and son team of Jack and John McKenney travel the oceans of the world to film these mysterious fish. The McKenneys possess a combination of courage, strength, and filmmaking expertise, which has resulted in unprecedented footage. In the course of their journeys, the McKenneys' admiration for the sharks has only increased. Father Jack McKenney.
Over the years, my cameras have recorded a wide spectrum of sharks, from the relatively harmless angel shark to the granddaddy of them all, the great white. For me, a shark dive is an exhilarating experience. What could be more exciting than coming face to face with one of the most feared creatures under the sea? It's the challenge of a lifetime.
Many sharks are predators, at the apex of their food chain. Capturing them on film is potentially dangerous. The cinematographer's attention must be divided between filming and the instinctual drive for self-preservation. John McKenney experienced this interior battle filming sand tiger sharks off the coast of the Carolinas. Sand tigers are both scavengers and predators, and use their long teeth to capture and eat their prey.
And this shark was coming in close to the camera. I go, great, I'm gonna have this fabulous footage. You know, this is the time to do this filming at night. All of a sudden, the shark, I mean, it's quick, I mean, just that fast, it ripped my movie light right off my camera. I mean, it snapped a 3/8 of an inch cast iron ball joint right in half. All of a sudden, there was no light. There I am standing at 180 feet of water in pitch black with 50 sharks swimming around me. You know, here you are trying to be Mr. Macho. At that time I said, forget this macho, I'm out of here right now. By the time I got back up on board, I was really excited, and it was exciting. It was fun, it was an experience. You know, I got out of there, you know, just by the skin of my teeth. But it was at that time that I realized that if that thing wanted me, it could have had me so easy. Because it's like nothing but this 8-foot or 9-foot piece of muscle. There's just this mechanical eating machine. And I was just this clumsy human being underwater with a camera in his hand.
Feeding sharks in the wild is not a casual undertaking. The McKenneys are patient and persevering with undersea creatures. They take time, allowing the animals to become accustomed to their presence. Without the temptation of food, most sharks would not approach a human. Bait is used to attract sharks for study and filming. Marty Snyderman, an underwater writer, photographer, and filmmaker, explains.
One of the real differences in underwater photography as opposed to topside or shooting films on land is that underwater we have to work within 3 or 4 or 5, 6 feet of our subject. On land, we take pictures of the Grand Canyon. It simply doesn't work underwater. And if you're going to film wildlife underwater, you've got to be really, really close. No matter what we think about sharks, if you don't use bait, despite their size, despite their nature, sharks are pretty wary animals as a rule, and it's hard to get close to them. But if you use bait, you can draw the animals into you, you can control the action, you can get the sequences and the footage you want. Perhaps the downside of that is that all the time when sharks are on television, or almost all the time, they're all jacked up, they're excited, they've been baited and aroused, and pretty soon the public gets the idea that that's the way these animals are all the time. But that's really not true.
The McKenneys traveled to the Sea of Cortez to document the behavior of the strange-looking and potentially dangerous hammerhead.
All right? Mm-hmm. Okay, go ahead.
Jack swims down with controlled energy. He knows excessive air bubbles from his scuba gear could startle the sharks and threaten the filming opportunity of a lifetime. A school of scalloped hammerheads numbering in the hundreds. The sharks swim together in a spiral dance. Scientists believe that the schooling correlates with mating behavior, but the relationship is unclear. As Jack films, the sharks continue their swim, unperturbed by the presence of the divers. There are several theories concerning the broad lateral expansion of the sharks' heads. Some biologists believe that the flattened head helps streamline the shark's body, or perhaps it increases the hammerhead's field of vision. A third theory suggests that the elongated shape increases the arc of water in which the shark applies its highly refined sense of smell. Whatever the reasons, the hammerhead has taken a strange turn in the path of its evolution. The hammerhead, the great white, the mako, the tiger. All have contributed to the shark's ferocious reputation. But the McKenneys have discovered through their filmmaking that some species are remarkably gentle. The whale shark is a plankton eater like many of its namesakes. Its spotted back seems to reflect the dappled surface of the shallow waters in which it lives. Its length, which can reach 65 feet, makes it the largest fish in the world. The whale shark's gentle behavior towards the hitchhiking diver is more reminiscent of Flipper than Jaws. The nurse shark is another docile member of the family. Dispelling the myth that sharks never rest, it appears to slumber beneath a ridge of coral, while parasites are cleaned off by the attendant remora fish. Sharks vary in their habitat and place in the food chain. Some, such as the horn shark, eat small fish and squid eggs, and are prey for larger sharks. The McKenneys are advocates for the preservation of all sharks.
To me, a shark underwater is a beautiful sight, and I consider myself lucky if I happen to see one. The shark, no matter where it rests on the danger scale, is a being to be reckoned with, admired, and appreciated as one of the most fascinating and provocative creatures beneath the sea.
The ocean environment intrigues and mystifies us, yet we are earthbound, and few of us have the courage to forsake our terrestrial homes to explore the mysteries of the deep. It is that adventurous minority which dares to photograph and film undersea that enables us to indirectly experience this unique wilderness. Jack McKenney's passion for underwater cinematography is shared by his son, John. Together, they have explored oceans and seas, seeking out the unusual, the beautiful, the terrifying. Their knowledge of shark behavior, paired with their diving and filmmaking skills, has resulted in pioneering footage of the mysterious creatures. For Jack, the call of the deep came early. At age 13, he saw the motion picture The Frogmen. It presented to him the possibility of a life as an underwater cameraman, quite an ambition for a young boy living hundreds of miles from the nearest ocean.
Early diving experiences, as far as my father went, were a rock quarry in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. Actually, the first thing I think I can remember ever seeing him use was this housing. And it was actually just a plastic bag with a piece of glass in it, and you put a box camera inside it, and you hoped it didn't leak. That was for still photography. And then he got interested in movies and shooting motion pictures underwater. And the first camera he had was made out of 1-inch pine boards, and it was a Kodak camera. And the thing was so buoyant that he had to tie a weight belt around it to get it underwater. These were the pioneering days in underwater cinematography, and he was definitely one of the pioneers.
Jack transformed his avocation into a profession, moving to the Bahamas with his family to begin his diving career. Underwater cinematography became a way to share the sea with those who would never venture below. John remembers those early years.
We'd all get in the water, and he'd start filming, whether he was doing macro or close-ups or whatever kind of photography, fish portraits, whatever. And he would send me out, or send my sister out to find subjects for him. So we would swim around the reef, spend our day swimming around the reef, turning rocks over, trying to find nudibranchs or slow-moving snails or whatever. Anything that was exciting for the camera, he would send us out to find it.
John began diving when he was 7 and was still quite young when he first explored a shipwreck.
The first actual wreck dive that I ever made was in Grand Cayman, when my father was making the film Diving Grand Cayman. And it was on the wreck of the Balboa. And I was probably an 11-year-old kid who was, had an imagination that would go anywhere. And still, as a kid, we just, all I was thinking about, yeah, we're down here making a film, but I wasn't thinking about that. I was saying, well, we're diving on this wreck, and there's treasure here somewhere, and I'm going to find it. Well, obviously, that never happened, but nevertheless, it was an incredible experience, wonderful experience for a kid to be able to, to do that and do that with his family.
Before he was old enough to drive a car, John was swimming with bull sharks, a film camera gripped in his young hands.
I mean, that was a real kick. There's nothing like diving with sharks. I mean, you constantly are, you're never more aware when you're in the water with sharks, because you have to be aware, because you don't know what's going on behind your head. That is, you can't see behind you, so you've got to constantly be turning around and wondering if there's a shark coming at your head, or your back where you can't see him.
Jack learned quickly that filming sharks and other ocean animals demanded a level of patience and commitment, which affected his entire life. He spent hours experimenting to refine his technical abilities. Jack became a master of lighting the underwater environment, often filming with lights at night to reveal the subtle coloration of undersea plants and animals.
Part of the underwater world that's so spectacular is the color. And the way you bring out color is to have artificial lighting. So you have lights, you have cables, you have generators, you have to have somebody help you with all that equipment. Occasionally you go with self-contained lights, but they're really not as good as generator-powered lights. They don't bring out the color, they don't give you the flexibility.
Jack became an editor at Skin Diver magazine and relocated with his family to Southern California, gaining the expertise needed to fulfill his dream of a career in underwater cinematography. He included his family in the films to provide human interest and acquired a personal and effective underwater directing style. Filmmaker Jim Caloris explains.
Trying to set up direction underwater and get people to act the way that you want them to is very difficult, extremely difficult. Most of it comes in the preparation of the dive on land, where you work with your model or models or actors and get them to understand what you want with a specific gesture. Of course, underwater, sometimes this all goes out the window, so to speak, and you end up yelling a lot, and it's amazing what people can hear underwater when you yell through your regulator. Jack was very good at it. He did a lot of directing, and he did a lot of yelling too, but it worked.
Jack discovered he had entered a profession still in its infancy. He collected films of early cinematographers and discovered an unwritten history, the history of diving, of undersea filmmaking, and the roots of our deep fears of the unknown ocean. The earliest filmmakers only dreamed of underwater stories and shot entire sequences through an aquarium. Actors appeared to coexist with sea creatures in Neptune's domain. Bulky diving gear and cameras hindered early experiments in dive photography. These limitations were surmounted by John Williamson in 1919. The Williamson tube was a long extension which led to a windowed sphere suspended 40 feet below. John Williamson became the first to visually document shark behavior.
What a sight! Here he is, back for more. Getting his 12 rows of saw-like teeth set into that tough, fibrous bait. We must have a snapshot of this particular shark.
While researching early undersea cinematography, Jack discovered the films of Wes and Connie Mueller, a husband and wife team who produced remarkable color footage as early as 1934. The Muellers escaped their workaday New Jersey lives to become underwater filmmakers in the Bahamas.
Well, you know, in those days, you couldn't walk into a diving shop.
Dive gear and camera equipment were primitive at best. Connie bought kneeling pads in the local 5 and dime store to protect her shoulders from the 60-pound helmets. The helmets were connected by a hose to an air compressor on board their small boat. Lack of mobility didn't hinder the Muellers. They returned often to the same reef locations, developing relationships with undersea animals like this lobster. Connie's fearlessness and gentle demeanor even won over the sharks, which allowed her to caress and hold them. To move to a new location, the Muellers simply picked up anchor and walked on the bottom, pulling their boats and air supply along with them. In the mid-1940s, Jacques Cousteau began filming underwater with his newly invented scuba equipment, the Aqualung, changing the nature of diving and underwater cinematography forever. As John McKenney reached adulthood, he became an indispensable member of his father's film team. Jack and John joined the select fraternity of those who risk their lives to film sharks and other undersea creatures, which speak to the primitive in our psyches. The behavior of many species of sharks had yet to be documented, and shark diving was unexplored territory. The McKenneys learned through trial and error. Jim Caloris describes an early dive with the McKenneys filming blue sharks off the coast of California.
It was funny because I was really apprehensive, and we had this game plan made out, and the plan was we weren't going to go in the shark cage, but for 2 photographers in the water, there were 2 safety divers, each with a bang stick with a safety on it, so we didn't want to have to kill a shark. That was the last thing we wanted to do. But we could use it as a billy to just hit them on the head or push them away. So the safety divers that were in the water was always protecting our backs, so we could feel comfortable as photographers to shoot the pictures, and we didn't have to worry what was behind us. The problem is we were working in such deep water, there was no bottom where we were working. The bottom was like 1,000 feet. We were just working in the open blue water, and they'd come up from beneath us, so we'd have to end up kicking them and pushing them away.
Blue sharks average between 7 and 9 feet long. Although their teeth can rip prey to shreds in seconds, they don't have a reputation for attacking divers. The same cannot be said of the mako, an aggressive and highly unpredictable shark. Whatever type of shark they were filming, John often took the position of safety diver, protecting his father from the shark's determined curiosity.
If you get bit, I mean, it is the kind of thing where their teeth are so sharp that it's just like razor blades. They're just going to slice you open, and you don't want that to happen to you. So you got to be cautious, and you got to have safety divers there when you're doing it, and it's something that you don't take for granted. You got to be careful. Whenever my father and I would do any shark filming, The reason I was in the water when he was filming is I was a safety diver, and I was right behind his back with a shark billy, because he couldn't see in the back of his head, and I was there to do it. And if anything came close to him, because he's got, he had his eye right in the viewfinder the whole time, and if anything came close to him, I was there to bang it off.
The invention of protective shark suits in the early 1980s allowed the McKenneys to film sharks in aggressive modes at extremely close range. The suit is made up of up to 400,000 stainless steel mesh links. The mesh deflects the shark's knife-like teeth and spreads the pressure of a bite over a large surface area of the diver's body. Marty Snyderman has extensive experience diving with the shark suit.
Having been bitten literally thousands of times in the suit, pretty soon you start to gain confidence with certain species of sharks and certain sizes, and you're able to give your full attention, complete attention to the film work. And when they bite your arm, they're not thinking they're biting a person, they're biting what they're smelling, what they're tasting in the water column. And they're getting bits of that bait, and they lock in, and they want it, and they're not getting it. It frustrates them. In some cases they turn away, but in other cases they really latch on, and they start to shake. And what happens is they use their tail to gain leverage, and they shake their tail, and all of a sudden you've got this big animal basically sawing out a piece of meat. Now certainly with that suit that doesn't happen, but that's the strategy that the shark is using.
The suit is an excellent protective device for filming small to medium sharks, but it has little value against that most dangerous shark, the great white. Because of its size and propensity to attack, it would be foolishly suicidal to film the great white without the protection of a shark cage. The great white, one of the largest sharks, is found in all the oceans of the world. It is most prolific in the coastal waters of Australia. The great white's reputation as a vicious man-eater has permeated our consciousness, conditioning us to perceive all sharks as lethal. Even within the confines of the cage, filming a great white demands courage. The shark's appetite appears indiscriminate. It shows no hesitation in attacking the steel cage. Everything from Newfoundland dogs to 100-pound sea lions, as well as 6-foot sharks, have been found in the digestive tract of the great white. Although it would offer limited defense against an attack by a great white, the shark billy is useful for prodding away curious members of less threatening species. A nail and a thick wooden dowel are the components of this simple defensive weapon. Divers carry shark guns when working with dangerous species. The gun is very rarely used by the filmmakers. Jack filmed the killing of a blue shark when the gun was being tested. The results were devastating. Billies, guns, shark suits, and cages, all considered necessary aids while diving with and filming sharks. But nothing substitutes for informed courage based on intimate knowledge of shark behavior. Such is the methodology of John and Jack McKenney.
Underwater creatures are not any different than most if they're not provoked. They're content to mind their own business. This is particularly true of sharks. I remember my first sighting. All that I'd read and seen about sharks, all that I'd heard, rushed through my mind at once. There it was, sleek and graceful, and just a few feet away.
Today's filmmakers quest for ever more elusive animal footage as audiences become more knowledgeable and sophisticated. Undersea photography is a demanding career, requiring strength, patience, and skill. Jack McKenney died after a brief illness in 1988. John continues in the pioneering footsteps of his father, earning his place in filmmaking history, pushing the limits to bring back the film that will impress, excite, educate, and inspire.
.30-mile-an-hour winds.
Today, John McKenney,
7 foot
Jim
deep.
Kalouris, and Marty Snyderman will be filming angel sharks off the Southern California coast.
It'll be good this summer. That's right. Now we have
Film cameras have been loaded and equipment checked the evening before. Final component assembly and electrical hookups are made en route to the dive site. It is incredible that such a magnificent wilderness exists within miles of one of the most densely populated areas of the world. The divers are drawn to making films about the ocean so that they may exchange, if only for a day, the frenetic pace and pressures of life in the city for the solitude and weightlessness of the ocean's depths. John, like his father, believes that pre-dive planning results in the best footage. He and Marty discuss the sequences they plan to film today.
Obviously, the ideal situation would be for us to land. Stick right there. For us to land. You okay? For us to land right on the guy. Okay.
Their destination, the kelp forest and intermittent sandy bottoms which surround the California coastal islands. This area maintains a complex underwater ecosystem. Whales migrating from cold northern waters pass through the channels between the islands and the mainland on their annual journey to the tropical lagoons of Mexico. In the kelp forests, they can partake of a variety of food sources. The divers will swim down through stands of kelp growing nearly 200 feet tall in their search for the angel shark. The Pacific kelp is the largest species of seaweed in the world. These giant stands harbor innumerable plankton and smaller fish, which become dinner for the migrating whales. Local residents like the California sea lions also enjoy the rich diversity of the kelp forest.
To me, and I suppose to anybody else that does film sharks, the difference between the species is their teeth. You know, some of them have teeth and some of them don't, and you got to be careful with the ones that have teeth. And the bigger the teeth, the more you have to be careful. And the more aggressive the shark is, the more you have to be careful.
The divers carry no shark billies and wear no shark suits today. The small and docile angel shark will not pose a physical threat. On his way to the sandy ocean floor, John encounters a horn shark. This elusive fish is easily identified by its horn, a protuberance of flesh on the top of its head which becomes erect in times of danger. The horn shark can grow to be 6 feet long, but most specimens are closer in length to this 3-foot example. Like their cousins, the angel sharks, the horn sharks are non-aggressive. One of the filmmaker's goals is to educate viewers concerning the beauty and fragility of this special world. Sometimes they have the opportunity to act directly, here releasing a trapped sheep's head from an abandoned net. The close relationship between the ray and shark family can be noted when the physical characteristics of the fish are compared. The ray is most at home on the sea floor and is essentially a flattened shark. The angel shark could be mistaken for a member of the ray family. Its mottled tan surface provides excellent camouflage as it burrows down inches below the sand. Here it waits patiently for squid and small fish to swim close to it, then swallows them up. By using its large fins as wings, the angel shark rises from its sandy hideout and gracefully glides through the water, recalling images of its heavenly namesake. Because of their camouflage, the angel sharks can be difficult to locate. Fortunately, today, John and his colleagues have discovered an area replete with angel sharks, enabling them to film successfully in their brief time below.
Yeah! That was it! Good stuff.
They're just right there all over the
Yeah.
bottom. Just exactly like that.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. You had it right in your hand, you
Yeah, I
know?
hit it. Yeah, I mean, did you roll out?
Yeah, rolled out all of it. All 400 feet.
I think the challenge that makes underwater filmmaking so different than topside, in some ways it's a blessing, in some ways it's a burden, but we're so limited in time. If you see topside photographers, they sit in a blind and they wait for days. Well, frankly, I don't always want to do that, but we're limited by the fact that we're down there 20 or 30 or 40 minutes. You run out of air. It's difficult, it's time consuming, and basically it's that old expression of luck follows effort. You put in a ton of time underwater, but there's limitations to that. We have to be so close to the animals.
Sharks are strange creatures, one of the oldest types of fish life, archaic. Yet they thrive today, the pests of the sea, enemies of all seafaring people. Caswell's knife reached far into the vitals of that tiger, justifying the sailorman's belief that the only good shark is a dead shark.
60 years after this film was made, our reactions are much the same. Before this century, sharks were feared by those who most frequently encountered them, sailors and fishermen. But with the rise in popularity of the ocean sports of surfing, scuba diving, sailboarding, sea kayaking, and swimming, more people venture into the ocean each year. Yet incidents of shark attack are extremely rare. In the United States, the chances of being struck by lightning are 50 times greater than being involved in a shark attack. But myths die slowly, especially when they are given new life by the popular culture. Jules Verne's 19th century novel, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, was adapted for film by John Williamson in the 1930s. Presented as a pseudo-documentary, it depicted a horrifying world at the ocean's depths, inhabited by a monstrous octopus which trapped unwary divers in its tentacles. The giant octopus, in fact, was a fake, manned by a diver that controlled its arms. The suction cups which held the unlucky divers were nothing more than tennis balls cut in half. We know today that the octopus, like the shark, is a creature much maligned. It rarely reaches more than 10 feet from arm to arm, and is possibly the most intelligent invertebrate of all. Its keen eyes and sense of touch are used to search for its favorite prey, not unwary humans, but crabs. Like its undersea neighbor, the shark, the octopus is a magnificent example of animal adaptation. Decades ago, entire continents were considered unlimited wilderness areas to be exploited. Predators at the top of the food chain were killed and displayed as trophies. We're learning that the oceans, just as the land, are not infinite. Their apex predators, including the sharks, play a vital role in the healthy maintenance of the entire ecosystem. Our perceptions are slowly being focused towards nature's reality.
I have shot a shark a number of years ago, and frankly, I regret it. When we first started this thing, and I didn't know 10 or 15 years ago when we first started filming blue sharks and mako sharks how they'd really behave. We killed a couple of sharks, and over the years I've learned I really didn't have to do that. And I carry one of these sticks, and I've practiced with it by shooting a watermelon a time or two just so I make sure it all works, but I hadn't used one in years. I won't hesitate to do it if I need to.
Filmmakers, researchers, and scientists working with sharks approach those species known to attack humans with reserve. Their caution does not reflect the behavior of the rest of us. Thousands of sharks are killed each year for cat food and shark fin soup. Their vitamin-rich oil is used in cosmetics manufacturing. Their teeth fashioned into necklaces. They are hunted with shark guns and are fished commercially and for sport. They die slow deaths by suffocation, entangled in nets erected off beaches to protect swimmers. Who is the predator? Who is the prey? Our knowledge of sharks is ever increasing, in part due to footage provided by Jack and John McKenney. Each year, more and more divers enter the water in shark cages, overcoming their fear to observe firsthand the great creatures in their habitat.
One of the saving graces for sharks right now is the fact that underwater cameramen have brought a little bit more insight as far as shark behavior, because researchers are able to watch it. Days gone by, there have been people that have gone out and have done nothing but kill sharks. I've never been a hunter, and I think that I think you're seeing more and more cameras in people's hands than spear guns.
The sharks stand a better chance for survival because of the work of the McKenneys. But what of the filmmakers? What draws them to the ocean, traveling with bulky camera gear, spending their lives underwater in search of the great ocean animals?
But the rewards, the colors, the action, the things that happen underwater are so incredible compared to what happens here on land. Where else do you see sharks and manta rays and moray eels and huge schools of fish swimming through? It's an amazing world, and if you're fortunate enough to be able to work in the underwater world, and documented on film, I think it's a wonderful life.
The biggest challenge is animal behavior. The scenics and the rest of the stuff comes easy. To me, the biggest challenge is animal behavior.
It's a night for the tiger shark.
Man against beast in a battle to the death. A myth with roots extending backwards to the time when our ancestors depended on the hunt for survival. Captain Caswell was a famous shark fighter in the 1930s.
The tiger shark is the most destructive killer of the Gulf, an exterminating menace to the game fish, a ruinous plague to the fishermen and their nets. So to Caswell, this is a supreme enemy, and he knifes the shark with a wild thrill of battle and with an energy of deadly peril. The fish fighter can stay underwater for an astonishing length of time, too. But if he were to lose consciousness for a moment, the shark's teeth would crush him. Man of steel with his grip of steel. But if his hand should slip and the shark should flash around at him, he would be mangled to death in an instant. Did I say before that a shark was hard to kill, tenacious of life? Caswell drives the blade home time after time. It's stab, stab, stab. There must be 100 strokes, but still the shark fights on. A tremendous job of knife work, killing the killer.
The deck was stacked in this film to ensure the victory of Captain Caswell, but we cannot afford to be sanctimonious in our attitudes towards the past. Similar, albeit less dramatic, shark hunts occur every day. As we expand our quest for food and other resources into the ocean, populations of many shark species decrease each year. For most of us, the image of a shark instills fear of a violent, bloody, underwater death. We have not acted to protect the shark as we have other marine animals such as the dolphin or the whale. The work of the McKenneys and their colleagues will help us to better understand these creatures, enabling the shark to continue the existence it has enjoyed for the past 300 million years.